running Rafa and your build still feels like it's held together with duct tape, even post-level cap, this might just be the video for you. I'm the Fire King and this is the Elementalist Rafa build, a general purpose UVH6 ready build that's functional even with low level guns like the level 50s you just saw. Here's the roadmap. Specializations first, then gear, then skill trees. We'll then wrap with known issues and the flex items that you have available. For our specializations, everything in this build flows through one node, I am a gun. Even though it says that it buffs actual skill damage, it actually applies to skill damage outright, which is the foundation this build is built on. Without it, the build's power drops off sharply. Keep that in mind when we get to the Dancer class mod, because that synergy is where the real big damage numbers come from. For our weapons, we have genuine flexible options here, but I at least keep one dedicated bossing weapon. The Bod, the Shaka, and the Roulette are all solid picks. I'd fill the rest with mobbing weapons of your choice. For shields, you have two options depending on your playstyle. Fireworks. It's excellent for mobbing, especially with a radiation roll, and our status effect proc rates are so high that you'll be triggering it constantly. What's for dinner? It synergizes with several skill picks and boosts shock damage output such that you become a DPS machine. The biggest non-negotiable for all the gear that we have is the Dancer class mod with 5 in Temerario and 1 in Soltado. This combination gives you a massive percentage gun damage increase, which, thanks to I am a gun, converts directly to skill damaging. This is the core loop of the build, and without this, you are going to be putting a lot of damage up on the table. So please, I would urge that you try to obtain one of these. It doesn't matter what the secondary rolls are, just try to get 5 Temerario and 1 in Soltado. For your Ordnance and Rep Kit, I run Crit Knife and Triple Bypass personally, but honestly you can run whatever suits you. However, your firmware is where something's different. I would recommend running 3 skill crafts for 65% skill damage. That number is huge, especially when we're not inside of our action skill, but even when we're inside our action skill, 65% skill damage is an incredibly high amount to get. I'd also run 2 Rubber Bandman for lifesteal, which becomes important when we're in endgame content, as we can't rely on just purely shield mechanics and shield gating in order to allow us to survive. For our skill tree, we're going to be starting off in red. We're going to put 5 points into shield barriers for shield recovery speed and getting our survivability up. We're then going to put 5 points into Werga for getting some action skill duration recovery. The augment of choice for this build is going to be Bullet Blade Deluxe. While Instantito does work for heavy mobbing, Bullet Blade Deluxe has solid uptime now thanks to points that we can finally get inside Blue Tree, and it handles mini boss as well. We then take a 2-3 split between Resilienza and Maestro. Finally, we can take 5 points into Vitriol and Concentrated Buildup. Vitriol was bugged since launch and is now finally fixed to properly interact with Bullet Blade Deluxe, but Concentrated Buildup is still bugged, and that's a tracked issue. I'll cover both in the known issues section. For our capstone, we're going to be running Beam Team. It's a value engine in this build and not a primary damage source. We're also going to put 1 point into Alakron to keep status effects flowing during bossing scenarios. In the blue tree, we're going to put 5 points into Las Hares and 5 points into Thrill. These are some of the strongest tier 1, tier 2 options available, and there's no reason not to run these in any build. We're then going to put 3 points into First Impression and 2 into Al Centro. This is a good damage boost that we get, and it counters Temerario's gun handling penalty. We then take 5 points into Brain Dunk to boost our bonus critical chance. This will allow us to crit with almost any single shot that we take on any enemy. We'll also put 5 points into Conduct Evo to boost our status effect chance high enough that Beam Team's Electric Beam will guarantee a status effect proc every time. Fiesta rewards us for playing around status effects by pausing the duration of our action skill every time we land a status effect. Now, while this is currently bugged in a way that I'll talk about later, this in theory will allow us to have infinite action skill uptime. Finally, we'll round things out with 5 points in Yak. This is the capstone payoff, since every overdrive skill now gets bonuses from Dancer, Soltado, and Yak simultaneously, which allows us to get crazy absurd numbers on these skills. We'll have 1 point left afterwards, which you can put into either El Soldado for even more gun damage that will get buffed with Dancer, Soltado, and Yak, Mate to get your action skill back up faster to go back into these loops, or Fiesta, which, while is kind of pointless once this gets fixed, is very helpful in the here and now. Alright, so this is where we talk about the known issues and funny interactions this build has, mainly with Vitriol, Concentrated Buildup, and Fiesta. Now, Vitriol and First Impression were both fixed in the most recent patch to now work with Bullet Blade Deluxe's active, but as a side effects of the fix, they now are always on for COV weapons, meaning that using a gun like the Golden God that never overheats allows you to constantly spam Vitriol and First Impression procs. As for Concentrated Buildup and Fiesta, both are currently bugged and tracked by the dev team, so a fix should be expected in the coming weeks, but this means that there's power that is left on the table. Not enough that it breaks the build, but enough to know that once these get fixed, your build will be reaching an even higher power delta. Finally, let's get back to those specializations, and your 3 flex slots. My current picks that I run are Really This for 50% bonus gun damage that will basically always have on thanks to our action skill also counting as gun damage, Compounding Afflictions, which rewards the absurd amount of status effects that we can output by giving us additional damage on any instance of damage that we deal, including skill damage, gun damage, status effect damage, you name it. Finally, I also run Now with Caffeine so that I get a safety net for whenever the gameplay loop gets disrupted. That way I can just spam red kits and get right back into my action skill. For alternatives that are worth considering, Contamination allows you to get guaranteed status effects. Overkill allows you to get ridiculous mobbing up with skill damage that ironically exceeds the amount that should be happening. And In the Zone for ADS damage that we will be benefiting from once concentrated buildup gets fixed. Bullet Train is alright for now, but once concentrated build gets fixed, it's going to be overshadowed by In the Zone for a good option. Anyhow, that's the Elementalist Rafa build. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious to know how it's treating you. Peace, and may God be with you.